Hey, how's everybody? I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence. This is a subject that garners a lot of attention and probably deservedly so, because it has a lot of potential for good, but a lot of potential for bad. So, I'm going to give an overview of a paper that we wrote jointly with the United Nations and with Europol. So, what we wanted to give an idea on this paper, it's not only the possible uses of artificial intelligence, but also the abuses, how the bad guys can take advantage of artificial intelligence to perpetrate crimes, to create really bad stuff. This is a very forward-looking view. So what we did is we looked at the uses that are currently in use, like things that we are seeing right now for malicious purposes, but also we wanted to give a future look of what's coming. What possibilities do the bad guys have in order to use artificial intelligence for the bad, for criminal purposes in the future. So bear with me. Some of the future ones are very futuristic, so they may or may not come to pass. But I think that they're very useful because the whole thought experiment is already something worth doing, something that you think, wow, if this is coming, then maybe we can start preparing, and maybe it will never come because we're so well prepared that the bad guys are never going to go that way, which is positive. But in the worst case scenario, those futures may come to pass, and we need to be ready. We need to at least have given a thought. So let me see if this works. Okay, can I go forward for the with the slides? My device is not working.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you. So in the paper, we go very much in depth to each one of these current uses, and I'm reminding you that this is the present. So what we are seeing right now, there's already proof of concept malware that uses AI in order to stay undetected. How does that work? And I'm going to talk about only the ones with asterisk. The other ones are chapters in the paper. If you're very interested in them, you can go ahead and download the paper. It's completely free, and you can take a look at the whole chapter. But AI malware to me calls specially right as interesting because malware is something that we're all suffering in our networks every day, right? So having AI capabilities on malware, it's especially it's a prospect that is especially bad, right? There is already a proof of concept of malware that uses neural networks in order to guess where the malware is being run. So if it's being run at a network that it's a corporation, then it goes ahead and it runs, no problem. But if the malware suspects by the environment, by how is the computer is being used, that computer is a researcher's computer, if it's an analysis machine, if it's a machine that is not necessarily something interesting, then it will never run by itself. So it uses artificial intelligence to determine where, in what environment it's being run, and then it decides whether it's worth running or it just stops and does nothing. That's crippling for the whole industry that is based on virtual machines creating special environments that make the virus think that it's a normal machine. This kind of malware understands where it's being run. So this is especially concerning. This again is technology that already exists. So IBM presented 2 years ago at a conference the algorithm that does this. So the moment that the bad guys realize that this thing is available or even possible, they start either using it or developing themselves. So that's pretty scary. Another part that for me is concerning is password guessing. So right now, the technology on password guessing, once you have a database with passwords, it's just trying a whole database, A, B, C, trying to find the which passwords correspond to those hashes, right? Um, there is technology already that takes password databases, finds patterns within those, and creates rules so that whenever there's a password guessing operation, it can use that intelligence to be a lot more specific. If you see that most of the passwords are like, I don't know, a word and two numbers, then it creates a rule that, okay, the next guess is going to be one password in that dictionary plus a two-digit number, for instance, if that's what it has found. So it uses artificial intelligence to make educated guesses as to what is most likely to be the pattern for a password. So that this technology exists, and it's a lot more effective than just regular password guessing, which is one by one trying to guess all of the passwords. In a similar way, captcha breaking. Captcha breaking, it tries to find the patterns of those the colors and how the captchas. Again, you probably know this, but a captcha is those funny pictures that have a word that asks you what is the word inside, so that it distinguishes between a human and a script. So if you're a human, you're able to read the word and put it in, right? But if you're a script, it's very difficult. So they are already working. This is already being sold in the underground. A program that already, through artificial intelligence, is able to look at those patterns and decipher them, and trying to see what the word inside the funny colors and shapes are. So this is a breakthrough, because so far captcha breaking by criminals has been done in human workshops, like in India. You know, they have a lot of humans, and they spend all day long looking at those funny letters and putting them by hand, right? But if there's a program that does this, then that's a breakthrough for criminals, because they can start abusing services that are being protected by CAPTCHAs a lot more effectively than using an Indian workshop. So that's scary also. I think that's, to me, these three are the ones who caught the attention the most. There you go. Now it works. Now, this is theoretically, when we have seen the research, we've seen that the bad guys have all these possibilities. That's all well and good, right? The technology is there. We already know how to use it. Not necessarily the criminals. Now, let's see what the criminals are actually looking at, right? What kind of artificial intelligence enabled software is being sold and bought in the criminal underground. And this is so far the kind of topics that they're working on artificial intelligence. Of course, artificial intelligence hacking, that already exists. We have seen in the underground programs that can attack a target by using artificial intelligence. They probe first what kind of machine it is, and based on the machine, then it decides what kind of vulnerability, what kind of exploit I'm going to send them, to be really, really accurate in the in exploiting. It's a lot more effective than just having a human decide, okay, this is Linux, so then let me check what algorithms I have. No, the artificial intelligence enabled algorithm is able to elucidate all that attack and send the best exploit in order to attack that very specific machine. That is already happening. So that already exists. For instance, in the same way that we have seen stock trading, seeing the patterns and the ebbs and flows of the intraday trading on normal stock trading, the bad guys are already working, and they have already algorithms that use artificial intelligence to check those patterns, those ebbs and flows of cryptocurrency, so they can see when to buy best Bitcoin or other any cryptocurrency, and when to sell more, so that they can benefit in the process. So this is already existing. AI cryptocurrency trading. In the same way, to improve, for instance, the human interaction on social networking platforms. That's crazy, because we have seen that many social platforms, if you create a bogus account and you don't keep it alive, so it's probably a bot that's behind that account, then the social platform will just shut down the account, right? They will notice that it's a bot, it's an automated process running the account. So what they've done to counter that is using artificial intelligence in order to make that account look like it's actually alive, that there's a human behind. So they've done that on what is the service? Spotify. So bad guys create Spotify accounts so that then can later sell them or do crazy things with them, right? So Spotify, of course, tries to see if those accounts are being used and how. Now, the bad guys have created an AI that moves the cursor on the page, plays music that makes sense, right? So if it starts with like heavy metal, then they go to another heavy metal, then they go to another metal, then they go to another rock. They don't go just classical music. That's nothing that a human would do. They do make it behave like a human, with the purpose that Spotify never closes those accounts. Now, that artificial intelligence behavior is being used to keep those accounts, those bogus accounts, automated accounts, open for longer without Spotify being able to see that those are being run by machines and not humans. That's already happening. I'll show a screenshot next, and then and of course online game cheats. There's a lot of cheats, and in the latest generation of game cheats, we can see that those games that use shoots. You're shooting your enemy, so they're able to find and to create software that through artificial intelligence they see what the target is and find the target automatically, aim to it, and shoot. This is important because the esports is a very very lucrative market. It moves a lot of money. So if one of these esports players is able to cheat very effectively, then that may mean like hundreds of thousands of dollars going his way, and it is already happening. So there are already online game cheats using artificial intelligence in order to cheat and get a lot of money. So let me show you a screenshot. This is the Spotify one. That was cryptocurrency trading. The other one is a game cheat, and the last one, I don't remember what the last one was. It was something about. It was called yeah. It was a hacking one. It was called Pwn Tamagotchi. It was some sort of artificial intelligence being used on Wi-Fi, on a Wi-Fi device, in order to do the hacking of Wi-Fi devices around you, trying to discern which ones were the best targets. So that's crazy, right? So artificial intelligence is already in use in this environment and is already being sold. Now, let's see the third part, right? Well, it's well and good to know what the present state of technology is. Also, good to know what the criminals are actually doing today. The part three is very interesting. It's the most interesting, arguably, which is future scenarios. What's going to happen next? And again, this is absolutely forward looking. It may or may not come to happen, but we think that those are more or less the avenues that they have open in order to misuse and abuse artificial intelligence. So these are the ones that we talk in the book. I'm going to cover specifically the ones that I think that are the most illustrative of how artificial intelligence can be misused. Social engineering at scale. If there's something super effective for the artificial intelligence can help a bad guy, is in creating text. It can create large amounts of text automatically, and text that makes sense. So you can tell the algorithm create a lot of text that comes like it's sounds like it's coming from like a U.S. person, like with a U.S. accent, and that actually makes sense. What can you use this for? Many things, right? And what we thought is the social engineering of scams, like an email scam. The regular email scam can be a romance scam, trying to convince a woman that or a man that you are of the opposite sex and that you're interested in them. And at some point, once your romance has gone long enough, then ask them for, "Oh, I need money for a passport because in my country you need to bribe a government official," and then you ask for money. That, for instance, no, but also the prince, that there's a you inherited something, somebody's going to give you some money. Now, in those scams, there's one characteristic, which is within the three first emails, the victim either will become convinced that this is a scam, this is very strange, or they will get hooked, right? Those three emails are pretty much the same. Like, I describe the whole thing. I am this kind of woman in Russia who is looking for a man with your characteristics. The second one, asking for whatever, just clarifying the whole thing. And the third one, you're preparing them for the rest, right? And after that, it's more one-on-one, but the first three emails are pretty much the same, right? So you can automate those emails. Again, theoretically, you can create a system that can automate those three emails to make them really convincing and to answer automatically whatever the other person is coming back with, right? Those three emails are going to pretty much be the same, but they need to be convincing. So you can automate that, and that's the difficult part of the scam. Once that is in place, after that, the human can come and take over and really continue the scam, because that's going to be more difficult to automate. But if you do that, the business of scamming can make much, much, much bigger, because the scammers waste a lot of time in those three emails trying to convince in the beginning that the whole scam is real, but the whole story is real, not a scam. So that's one possible thing, creating texts in order for a scam or anything that's happening through text, it's actually real, which is not. The second one would be, and also in the same vein, that content generation and content parsing. Now, content generation is pretty much the same. So if you're able to have an algorithm through artificial intelligence that create text that makes sense, what kind of text can you create to use for nefarious purposes? Probably the one it's websites being used for misdirection, misinformation, and fake news. So you can create automatically with a common style, with a common theme, text that can bring your targets or people who are visiting the site to think that whatever, your misinformation, that Germany is bad, or whatever your intentions are. But if you create those news automatically, then you can be much more effective at convincing large amounts of people that your information is real, which is not, because you're talking about fake news. That's for generating content. Mass generating content can be generated, like, since it's an algorithm, it can be done at the drop of a coin. You can just generate thousands of lines of text. You can also have with the same technology, but reverse, the ability to parse contents, parse any amount of content, and trying to decide through artificial intelligence what kind of content it is. What is this useful for? If you are a criminal and you have entered into a network, before you actually rob information, before you steal some information, it would be ideal if some algorithm would be able to parse the whole computer and trying to see what interesting data that computer has. So, for instance, if I have that algorithm and I break into your computer, then I would be able to see, does this person have any credit card stored into the computer? Does this person have secret information that talks about stocks? Does this person have any potentially interesting information that it's very personal in nature? Right now, a criminal would have to manually go through lots and lots of data and decide if it's interesting or not. One algorithm would be able to read millions of lines of text and decide what's interesting and what's not, what's financially interesting for the attacker and what's not. So that would be the content parsing and content generation. Again, these are all chapters of the paper. There's lots in that paper. I'm only going to select the ones that we think are the most interesting one. Remote machine learning set pollution is an interesting one also, because machine learning works by setting up large amounts of sample text, good one and bad one, right? Or text A and text B, and then it compares any new text by comparing it to those two sets and deciding which one it belongs to. What is this? What is this useful for? Because there's a lot of security software that it's tries to determine if a software is good or bad based on those sets, right? You have a large amount of good software and bad software. So any new software coming in, we determine if it's bad or good, if it's malware or it's regular software, by comparing it to those large amounts of data sets. Now, a malware, it can trick the whole system, the whole artificial intelligence system, by corrupting those sets. If you start putting good software into the bad software data set, then those decisions made by that security software, they're not going to be very good. They're going to start messing up. It's going to start treating some bad software as good, or you can do the reverse also. So those decisions made by that AI engine, they're not going to be reliable anymore. So that's a possibility. We haven't seen any malware actually corrupting those data sets in order to fake decisions made by AI algorithms, but it's absolutely possible. And then to put everything together, ransomware can use all of it. If you're a ransomware attacker, what you want is first to infect. That they do that already, right? But once you infect, you want to know automatically where you are. What's interesting, that you can do that through artificial intelligence, trying to see what environment I'm in. And if it's a corporation, maybe the ransom is going to be higher. If it's just a regular guy working at home, maybe a 100 euro ransom would be enough. Then you want to automatically hack from inside to other potentially useful machines in that same network. It can be done already with the automated hacking that we said before. And then once you're on those machines, you want to analyze them to see automatically what data is useful or not. And that's the data that you want to encrypt and ask for ransom, right? That can be done also automatically, as we showed with the content parsing. So AI supported ransomware would be a mixture of everything that we've seen together: automated hacking, AI supported content parsing, everything put together in order to create a very, very, very effective kind of ransomware. So let me go briefly for the deepfakes, which is, of course, the most notorious artificial intelligence enabled kind of software. Now, deepfakes can be done divided by the technology used. Now, you can use like in the beginning, very, very basic technology, which is you take a random picture and then you replace the head by the head of a different person. That's very primitive, right? It looks very basic. It can convince if the light is right, if the pictures are more or less right, but it's very, very basic. After that, there's another technology that came up, which is taking the same the original picture and then making it alter the facial features, like the mouth, so that it talks arbitrary content. That's a little bit more difficult because you have to take the picture and alter it ever so slightly in a synchronized manner with whatever arbitrary audio you want him or her to say, right? A little more complex. And the most complex one would be to generate the whole picture from scratch, completely new, according to whatever you want to say or to show. Now that's a lot more difficult, but we have already that technology. So now, for instance, there's been cases. There was in 2018, I think it was, in Malaysia, There was one case where a political or supposed political aide was on a deepfake video saying that he had homosexual relations with one of the cabinet ministers. That caused an uproar enough as to break the whole coalition of the government back then. So that's how powerful, how the big repercussions that those deepfake cases can have, even in the U.S. At a much smaller scale. There was back in 2019. There was a video gone viral of Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, like in slowed down, in very slow motion, and she was slurring her words, making her look or sound as if she was drunk. And that caused quite a political controversy back then. So it can be used for a lot of bad things. There's a lot we can, a little we can do to counter this, because all of the all of the technologies that we have in order to detect whether a video or an audio is fake uses artificial technology, which at the end lets it be a battle between AI versus AI, which AI is more effective. The moment that I create an AI that is very effective at creating the deepfakes, somebody will create an AI that is able to counter that new effectiveness. And then at that point, the other guys, the ones creating the deepfakes, will come up with another AI that is able to counter your detection and create more effective attacks. So it's one against the other. We're in a tough spot, right? Um, both camps are going to have the heads up at some point. So there's not going to be any good recommendation there, I fear, for the time being. And there's a lot of possibilities there. I'll let you read the paper if you're interested. But for me, the most interesting ones are, of course, extortion, right? If somebody is saying something that should not be saying, and I show you a video, like, look, there's a video of you saying completely the different thing that you think, your political views are completely twisted according to this video. So I'm going to show it to everybody. Give me money. Now, if that happens right before an election where you don't have any time to think, maybe you may lose that election. So maybe you might consider giving money to the extortionist. Pump and dump schemes. Again, it's the same thing, right? If I show a powerful CEO of a company saying something at the wrong time, which he never said, that may be enough to drop the price of his stock. Enough, maybe 2 hours, but that's enough for the guy who knew to buy or sell accordingly to the trend that he was setting. So he may make a lot of money buying or selling stocks. And for disinformation, of course, you can use spread misinformation or spread confusion just by putting out the right video with the right content at the right moment, so that people will be completely confused as to what happened or what the political landscape actually looks like at that moment. So it's very, very easy to spread misinformation by putting arbitrary words on certain people's video content. So that's pretty much it, because now we go through the recommendations, and the recommendations are not very meaty, I have to say, with all perfect honesty. I mean, yes, we have to do better. You have to have better practices, and you have to tell people, you have to research more, and you have to create better frameworks, and you have to at least create policies that take all these attacks into account, so that nobody's surprised when these happen. And of course, sharing tools, techniques, outreach, telling people that this is happening. So all of these have a special order of interest. Like outreach is the easiest one. Further research is going to be nearly at the top. And at the end of the day, what we have is a whole technology or series of technologies that are enable us to do wonderful things, but also enable criminals, one, to do bad things on their side, or two, the possibility of taking those good algorithms and corrupting them for their own needs. So either using them for bad or corrupting the good ones for bad. Those are two possibilities, and we need to be aware of that, and we need to be at least knowledgeable about the basis of those possibilities that the bad guys have for that. And with this, I close my session. Thanks very much. And again, this was by United Nations, Europol, and Trend Micro. We have a paper. If you are interested in the full contents of the paper, feel free to download it because it's absolutely free. Thank you.